Okay, so Sean Michael, let's get our facts right, please. Come on. Tom's card.
Yeah, let's get into it with the Tigers. So the Tigers are awesome. Great team. It happens. They're not going to win every game, despite the fact that the White Sox are terrible. They get blown out last night. It happens. But, looking at today's matchup, Jared Schuster going for the White Sox, just not a pitcher that I have literally any issue with. Like, I'm not afraid of him in any capacity. He only has 14 inning sample size this year. So this is more about, like, the Tigers lineup. So if you look at it from, like, four factors, it's like, all right, we got pitcher, lineup. We could say that this dude pitching for the Tigers, Sawyer Gibson Long, who's making his first MLB appearance, not just start, appearance since 2023, is also a non-factor. So the pitchers are both just completely irrelevant. The lineup from the White Sox is terrible, but the lineup from the Tigers is awesome. They're in the top 10 in the league, especially against lefties, which Schuster is when we're looking at WRC+, ISO. They don't strike out, they walk, they do everything that you possibly want. So of these four factors, the one that we trust the most would be the Tigers lineup overall. And I expect them to bounce back. Like, you're not going to hold a good offensive team down for one run where they lost 7-1, 8-1 last night. So I like them to bounce back. I like them to bounce back in a big way to cover the 1.5 on the run line at -110. Like, it is a -200 money line, but I don't want to be laying -200 when it's not Scooble. We're getting this pitcher who hasn't pitched since 2023. It's not even Flaherty on the mound. So I'm not going to lay 200. I'll take the run line, expect their offense to really do what they've done all season, just put up runs early and often.
How much do you really believe that the Tigers could keep this going all season?
I do.
Yeah. I hope so. I'm asking because I personally have a future on them to win the division.
Yeah.
I just am nervous they're peaking too early.
I don't. I think like last year they went like they earned like their battle scars last year. And I'm not sold on the Royals. I think they're a good team. I think they're a fun team, obviously calling up Cags yesterday, but the pitching is still an issue. I know that Reagan's coming back this weekend. I think it was later this week. He'll be back. And then when it comes to the Guardians, like, I think they're good, but their pitching hasn't stepped up. And I said it at the beginning of the season, like, the Guardians, if they can kind of just tread water essentially until Bieber gets back, they would be in a good spot. But we're seeing inconsistency from Bybee and Gavin Williams that they just don't have the pitching depth to really compete with the Tigers ultimately.
Yeah, that Tigers rotation and bullpen, phenomenal. And that's why I bet them to win the division. Before we get to hockey, Trent Grisham, Stephen Kwan, you love these to have a hit, parlay them at +105. Why?
Yeah, so this is just my normal daily thing, 2 hitters. They just happen to be in the same game. So Trent Grisham yesterday went over 3, over 4, whatever it is, but 3 of the balls that hit were at 90, 95, and 100 miles per hour, which I absolutely love. You look at Luis Ortiz, and some of his surface level metrics are okay, but he's due for some serious regression against lefties. He's allowing a 323 BABIP. He also has a 449 xFIP, and he walks too many hitters. He can strike out hitters. There's no doubt about it for him, but his BABIP is only at 233, which should regress closer to 300. So he's a pitcher that largely pitches the contact if he's not striking too many out. I know that sounds too weird, but I like where Grisham is, especially with these high batted balls. And then Stephen Kwan's awesome. Like, he doesn't get enough respect for just being a super consistent, really disciplined hitter at the plate. And yeah, he went 0 for 3 yesterday. Do I like to take good hitters, especially after they went 0 for 3, 0 for 4? Sure. Like, I always like a good bounce back, and I always take someone like Stephen Kwan, top of the lineup, going to be getting the extra at bat. We had them together. We have +105.
I look at sometimes the runs market, that hits plus runs plus RBI market. Yeah. How much do you dabble in those?
I do that, but it's tough to do it when you're only looking for one player. I don't mind taking, 3 players from the same team. So, if you were to go to, an Aaron Judge at, 1 HRR, like 1 HRR from Aaron Judge, like -600. That's obviously insane. But if you were to take a Judge, Rice, Goldschmidt, you add them together. Now we're getting close to, even money. That's what I largely like to do. And that can correlate with the team total. So a team that has a 5.2, 5.5, whatever is implied run total, you can add their top 3 hitters together or your 3 favorite hitters. And that's where you go. You can just play it straight. I've obviously played it straight. Someone like Ellie De La Cruz, you get him over 1.5 at like a -120. He just needs a solo shot. And I also like the fact that you can cash this bet without ever getting a hit, because you get a walk, you come around and score a run, or you hit a sac fly, you get the RBI.
That's what annoys me about the total bases prop.
Well, so yeah, total bases is tough because you do need a hit or 2 hits or a double or whatever it might be. But HRR is interesting to do when you attack it from like multiple players from the same team.
Jessica Brand said that's the old DFS stack strategy.
Yeah, just take multiple. Like this team's going to score runs. I like hitters 1, 3, 4, 5. Let's take those hitters. Let's add them in, and we get close to even money. It's really simple. Like it does correlate well, but you're not getting fair odds because it automatically throws it into an SGP. So you do have to pay that.
How about stolen base props?
I couldn't tell you the last time I've ever bet a stolen base prop. I honestly, I think I bet stolen base props 2 years ago when Noah Syndergaard.
You get good value on them.
Noah Syndergaard was terrible at keeping runners on base, and when he was with the Angels, I think it was 2 years ago, he just couldn't hold runners on. So you can take shots on that, but I that may be the last time I bet them.
I feel like just looking at the MLB market, there is a bunch of value out there, Tom. Like I was looking at, first of all, I get it. The AL East is down, but the Yankees being minus 1,600 in June is ridiculous. Yeah. And I feel like the Tigers at minus 550 also feels kind of ridiculous. And the Mets, I mean, fine, minus 115, Phillies plus 105, the Braves at 10-1. I mean, the Cubs are minus 410. Like, this is insane, the numbers we're seeing in June.
Yeah, the divisions are looking, I don't want to say like largely wrapped up, but it is pretty clear of who we should be seeing. To make the playoffs market, I think that's far more interesting just because you'd be banking on, wild card team where you say, okay, the Royals will get it together. And they're not going to win the division, but I think they'll make the playoffs. And you say the same thing about the Braves. They're not going to win the division. You just got to pick your team. You got to have, like, I said this coming into the year about the AL Central specifically, like you have to have your horse from the beginning and you got to stick with them because the odds were pretty tight to start the season. And the Twins were the favorite, which I said was just wrong on multiple shows.
Me too.
They were just not the team that you should be worried about.
Do you ever get into the mindset where you say, this number is wrong? There's no way the Twins should be this favorite. However, is there something that the book is catching on to that I don't know?
Well, I can say from experience, a lot of times the numbers are put there because the book's just protecting themselves. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like they're never going to hang good numbers on teams that they have a high exposure to. Like,
but I feel like they would have had a high exposure to the Royals.
Yeah, but the Royals pitching staff like has issues, and you could say that like Skubal being a Cy Young winner at the time coming into the year, that he's always going to garner some respect, and part of the postseason price goes into like, do they have a frontline starter? And they have that, and then they also signed Flaherty in the offseason.
Yeah, no, trust me, I love the Tigers. But okay, let's get into hockey. We've got the Stanley Cup Finals beginning tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Panthers, Oilers, what you got?
So I do have positions on the Oilers to win 4-3 and win 4-2. That was at 400 and 500 respectively for those two. So some series long props that I do like. I like Barkov tonight for 2+ shots on goal. It's minus 139. It's minus 139 with the 25% boost on FanDuel. So it's minus 170 or whatever it is without it. But I'm playing at minus 139. Barkov, top line center for the Panthers, will be on their top line on the power play. He should be getting those extra opportunities. I like obviously what he's done throughout the postseason. Looking back to last year's matchup, he had 2 shots in 6 out of 7 games. I'm not expecting that to be like the drawing point for people, but he's awesome. The matchups that he'll have are going to be tough, whether he's matched up against McDavid or Draisaitl, because the Panthers are on the road, which means they have second line change. The Oilers get to put out their line first, or the Panthers have to put out their line first. I should say the Oilers have second line change. So Barkov will be in tougher spots, but I just like what he brings to the table, and 2+ shots, minus 139 is pretty fair.
When looking at this matchup, you've got the Panthers in game 1 plus 102, Edmonton at minus 122, and that's just for game 1. But looking at the Cup, Edmonton minus 125 to win it all, and Florida plus 104. I feel like everyone's been hyping up the Florida Panthers all this time and how good they are. How much do you still like Florida?
I do. I also have a position on Bobrovsky to win the Conn Smythe, which is the MVP essentially. And I had that before this series was determined.
What'd you get that at?
350, and I think he's down to it's 280 now, so it's not like that much of a difference. But I think the series is going to go 6 or 7 games at a minimum, and it's not going to be like last year where 3-0 on one side, it goes all the way back to 3-0 on the other. It's going to be back and forth, like 1 win. So if you want to be on the Panthers tonight just because you want to take the plus money, that's fine. If they win tonight, just be on the Oilers next game. A lot of people like to use the zigzag, especially in playoff series. If they're hanging 6.5s now, I'd be willing to take unders. When it gets to 5.5, that's a different discussion. But as the series goes on, we'll see fewer and fewer goals overall. And I'll get to a point where I'll be taking some shots on alt under 4.5s, alt under 3.5s on smaller units, just expecting games to end like 2-1.
I know it's always hard to handicap these things early into a series. However, what are certain trends people can look out for with this matchup?
Well, the best bet to make, which I talked about before, would be just to take McDavid to win the Conn Smythe, because that's at a better price for compared to their series odds, which are -125. He's now -105 to win the Conn Smythe. So if they win, he's going to win it 99 times out of 100. But for the series overall, Zach Hyman, one of their top goal scorers, is out for the year. He had a wrist injury. So someone else is going to have to step up. Corey Perry, the veteran, is playing on the top line with McDavid, and he probably will be playing that net front role on the power play. So he could be in spots for a lot of goals. He may not be in spots for a lot of shots, but getting goals and easy deflections could be a clear path for Corey Perry, providing value in this series overall.
Let's jump to the NBA before I let you go, because Tom is just a professional at everything, and especially the sports that I love to talk about. So NBA starts tomorrow with the finals. We've got the Pacers at OKC. Before I even ask overall your thoughts on the series, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his points props 33.5. Yet the Pacers have struggled against guards this entire postseason, talking like 30 plus points a game on average against Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson. Is 33.5 high enough for SGA?
It is. I think that's the point of resistance, where I don't think it'll move to 34, I should say, tomorrow. But if it does, I would play under 34.5.
I think Juice was already on the under for 33.5. It's the highest it's been.
It's what it should be. Like 30, like they're 230 total. So what's their team total of 100 and whatever it is, 119, somewhere around there. Can't do the math. 120ish, somewhere around there. But if you're expecting to score like a quarter of their points, essentially. So we have to look at it in not just his points, but in like the team prop overall. So you're expecting him to score 30+% of the points, which I just think is too much. So I would be willing to play unders, especially if he moves to 34. But again, the books have to protect themselves. If they're starting taking overs on 30, 31, they have to continue to move it up and up.
SGA has been absolutely insane. I'm a little scared to fade him in the points section, but I might dabble in an under somewhere else on SGA, which I'll get to a little bit later in the show. What are you going to have your eye on for the NBA Finals?
So I have over 5.5 games. It was at +106, I think. And it's just, I would like to see the series go 4-2. Oklahoma City is going to win. I'm not telling you the Pacers. Oklahoma City is going to win 4-2. I would like to see it 4-2 just so we get, a good series overall. I don't know if that price has moved at all, but if we get to that fifth game and OKC's up 3-1, I could just hedge out, essentially, just take the OKC money line, come out net even at a certain point. I think the Pacers need to at least cover in game one. I think we could see this series playing out slightly as we did OKC versus Denver, where if the Pacers have a shot, they have to punch OKC in the mouth in game one. So I think Pacers are live in game one to win if they can get out to an early start. So looking at it first quarter, first half, whatever it might be. But if they don't do that and the Thunder can really go for the throat early and they win both home games, the Pacers stand no chance. It's that simple. Pacers have to take one of the first two.
I know that the NBA Finals MVP has SGA so heavily favored. I was brought on a show yesterday. They said, if there's value in the market, who is it? And I'm like, listen, I'm not betting this. I think there might be value at 80-1 on Chet Holmgren just because of how well Cat did against the Pacers. Maybe Chet could have a bunch of double-doubles in this series. Maybe they shut down SGA for somehow. But is this market even bettable, Tom?
If you bet someone else, you are I don't want to say it, but you're banking on an injury for SGA. That's what it comes down to. You're banking on an injury where he's unable to play for the rest of the series, and you get Chet Holmgren or Jalen Williams at 25-1, and all of a sudden that number would be 3-1 on Williams. That's all you're hoping for.
I just don't. Yeah, there's aside for injury, the Pacers have allowed Donovan Mitchell to average 34 points a game in their series. Jalen Brunson averaged 30 points a game in that series. SGA is having a better season, aka MVP, than all those guys. So I just can't even imagine the numbers that he might be putting up against Indiana.
Yeah, I think the series will start off with some points, just because 230s, but I think we'll end the series at game 5 or game 6, and we will see the total sub 220. I think we're going to start to see unders. Like, it'll eventually trend down, but we'll see this, when the games end.
Well, do you think that we start? So you think at OKC maybe we are betting overs, and then in Indiana we're betting unders?
I think, well, at a certain point, I don't think the Pacers will be able to outscore the Thunder. Like, they can keep up with them, but at a certain point, the Thunder defense will always be better than the Pacers. So I think the Pacers want to score, but they know that that's not the best route. Like, you don't want to give more possessions to SGA. You want to, decrease them.
So, okay. So the way that you would play it then, this series, is that OKC wins in 5.
I think that's what it ultimately is. But again, I have an over 5.5 total games in the series, and I'm waiting to be able to hedge out at a certain point.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, we've got the NBA Finals tomorrow. I am assuming the Stanley Cup Finals are going to be much better than the NBA Finals, right?
I would say minimum 6 games in Stanley Cup. If it goes 6, credit to the Pacers for putting up an awesome fight.
I agree. I just don't see. I know a lot of people who are laying 2.5 on the series for the NBA Finals.
Oh yeah, that's reasonable. I don't like that because
It's the only way you get value on OKC.
Right. That would be it, or the only value else I guess you would have to be direct series outcome.
Right.
OKC 4-1 or OKC 4-2 at 210 and plus 440. That's the only.
Have you done that where you will bet both of those because if you end up winning one, you could find a way?
Yeah, I have that for the Oilers. I have the Oilers to win 4-2 and 4-3.
Right.
So if we lose game 6 and we go to game 7, that means the Panthers are in a spot. I could then hedge out and bet on the Panthers money line to then make back both of those bets. Essentially, that's what I want.
Brand is really good at this. Jessica, can you figure out for me if you wanted to bet? Just like to see the best numbers because Jessica grabs from all the markets. So if you were to bet for the OKC Thunder to win in game 5 and game 6, those exact outcomes, how can you do it to hedge? Just to get people maybe some numbers going. And while Jessica's figuring that out, Tom Vecchio, thank you so much for coming on the show. As always, you are always a wealth of knowledge.